Okay, in this video we are going to use a Reconcile 3D node to animate the position of our volume rays. If you'd like to follow along but you didn't follow along the previous videos, you can open the file v28.nk in the Nuke's directory. Now, I know that I need to animate the volumetric center, which is that volumetric position here. And so I could just come here and create a keyframe on my last frame and then come to the first frame and try to guess the position of the sun, and then hope for the interpolation to work well and eventually adjust the position one or two keyframes. But this method is not very accurate, and if the camera movement was more complicated, that would be a nightmare. We are going to use here another technique to find that volumetric center. And we are going to use the actual 3D position of the sun that we have here on our matte painting. For that, we are going to use a node that we call Reconcile 3D. So we'll create that node. And that node will help us using the position of the camera here that I will need to plug to my camera, to my shot cam. We'll need as well to use the size of the 2D image output. So to find the size of the 2D image output, I just need to create a reformat node, and that reformat node will give me the file format. Remember, we set up that thing at the beginning of this course. So we'll plug that reformat node to the image. And we will need as well an axis, and that axis will give us the 3D position of the sun. So we need to create that axis. So we'll hit the tab key and create an axis here. And I will need to match that axis position to the actual position of my sun right here. So for doing that, we have a very simple technique. So I'd like to just clean my properties bin to have nothing open in it. And I will just double click on my sphere because that's the only elements that I want to be open right now. And I will come to that menu, drop-down menu here, and select Vertex Selection. If I click anywhere in my viewer now, I will display the vertices of the sphere. And the cool thing is that I can come and select a vertex, for example, that guy here, and now open my axis node, and come in that little menu here, and click on Match Selection Position. And as you can see now, my axis is positioned on that vertex. So in order to match the position of the sun, well, we will simply need to have a vertex. Where is my sun? So right now we have that vertex, which is close to the sun, but which is not where the sun is. Because it's a camera projection, we could rotate that sphere to have that vertex being in the center of the sun. So let's do that real quick. So we'll just come here to the rotation and start to adjust a little bit. So I need to change the Y here. Okay, so that's more or less in the center. Maybe a little bit more high. There you go. Okay, it's more or less in the center of the sun. That will do the job. So we'll select that vertex here and come back to my axis here and click on that button and match selection position. And now we have the axis at the center of the sun. Perfect. I will just need to connect that axis to the Reconcile 3D. Double click on the node and now create keyframe. So we'll make sure that my frame range is set to global to get the shot frame range. And I will click on OK. And there we go. Now, if I look at the output of my Reconcile 3D, hit tab to go to the 2D position. Now we do have the 2D position animated, as you can see here. So this is great. This is basically the position of my sun. So I should be able to use that position in my rays here. So we'll open the volume rays and I will come here to the X, Y output of the Reconcile 3D, do a click on the animation menu, go to copy animation, and I will come to the volumetric center here and do a click here, past, and past absolute. And now I should have exactly the same value here and here, and I copied the animation. So now the volumetric center of my volume rays is animated the same way as the position of the sun. All right, let's have a look to the result then. I will hook up my viewer right here. And let's see. Okay, cool. Let's check the last frame. All right. And let's see, for example, a frame like here. Good. I can see that my rays are following the center of the sun. So this is great. We got our volumetric center animated. But okay, let's say, yeah, but remember the position of my actual volumes were a little bit more like here on the edge before I modify the position. So what if I like to offset that position, but I'd like to keep the animation that calculated with the Reconcile 3D? Well, I could do that by going to the curve editor. So I'll come to the curve editor, and remember, if you don't have the curve editor here, you can click on that little guy here and go to Windows and then here, curve editor. Okay, and now let's actually close everything, go to the node graph and open only the volume rays just to have a clean curve editor. And now let's see, I want to offset the X position. Well, I will select the X curve and come here and make sure I'm selecting all the keyframes. And now by moving the entire curve on the y-axis here, I will be able to offset the position of my volumetric center here while keeping the animation. So that's very important to make sure that you selected all the points. You can do a Control A as well to select all the points. And then you can drag and drop up and down that curve to offset the initial position of the animation. And then now you have this position, but you are keeping the animation. And then that way you can get the exact result you'd like. So perfect. I think this looks better now. Cool. Now, we need still to animate the rays that appears, because right now we animate the centers, but we will need to animate other parameters of the volume rays to make them appear. And we are going to do that in the next video. See you there.